Sharon Kibler, or Sharon, Aaron, and Mitchell. And then there's another one that's affecting 5 people.
Okay, Jen, everybody's back in from the waiting room.
All right, welcome back. Okay, ready? Let's go through the agenda. Minutes?
I'll take them.
Mr. Mylan? Any comments on it?
Or something that could step
Okay.
up to it.
All right,
Yeah, we gotta repair a shop on.
Jim, can you mute whoever?
Sure.
I just ask anyone in the community who's just joining us, if our clerk has not already muted you, please mute yourself. We will give you an opportunity to address the council during at least 2 sessions today, okay? All right, special events application, Roswell Park, Ride for Roswell. So the map, Mayor, the map has changed? Okay. And no impact to our construction or? Okay.
No, they're going 2 Mile Creek to Fletcher, Duffy, Mitchell, Wadsworth, Hamilton, or Taylor, and then Brookside.
Yeah, Jenna, and they're only going to allow like 30 riders per hour.
Okay,
And the majority of it's a 9-mile loop from Praxair or Lindy, whatever you want to call it. And it's going to come up the bike path along 2 Mile Creek and then hit the streets that the mayor just indicated.
okay. And what time does this, 7 to 2?
7 to 2, correct.
What's that noise?
It's on the side, yeah.
Joining it.
Keeps doing that. This.
All right,
They both keep clicking in and
You
out.
hear that? I took that one.
that resolution will be sponsored by Councilwoman Cameron.
Medina? Okay.
All right, the agreement with the Niagara County SPCA.
I think it should be a council.
Council, everybody go with that? Council? All right, the LED street lighting, if no one objects, if I could sponsor it. Everybody go with it? Comments on it?
There was a change.
Yeah, so by way of explanation, the cost did go up. It was 89 and change, right, Bill?
It wasn't much, right?
And it's related to work orders that we've done. After we adopt this or vote on it tonight, the mayor will send a formal notice to, or sign PSA and send it to Larry Martin. And then, Mayor, I think last time we did this, we did it certified and regular mail, and then you emailed it. NICA recommends we do that same thing today. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, resolution 5 by Councilmember Ronstra. Any discussion on it?
So if we were to take the overtime from 100 down to, let's just say 85, my concern is, again, we change this overtime budget line. Is that going to hinder communication? Is that going to shut the communication with the fire department? Or are they just going to be like, we're done? We're not
I believe it would hinder it.
I mean, even if there's like, let's say talk with healthcare or
I can't speak on that. Sure.
And my understanding is you're meeting with them soon?
I'm gonna reach out to all the unions again.
'Cause I mean, honestly, I think we need to maybe table it to get further discussion, because they all should be unified right across the board. They all should have exact information, even the same amount. If it's, let's just say, health insurance, it should be 5%, 10%, right across the board.
Yeah,
I got that tape from our meeting that we had with them on June 30th, that they were all told something a little different. They weren't
No, they
giving,
weren't told something a little different when it came to the proposal. They were all told something different when it came to our numbers, because our numbers changed. Our numbers changed from so whether it was 1.8 or 1.9 million dollar budget gap, that's what was different. Everything else was the same.
so, I mean, you know, I'm gonna speak freely. I think this resolution is premature. I heard you say you think you should table it. Are you making a motion to table it? Don?
we can, yes, I'll make it.
Okay, so we have a motion to table. Do we have a second? Are we going to have a second? Okay. So what we'll do is when we go into formal, you can make the motion again. Okay. Resolution 6. I think there was a discussion to amend.
Yeah, there was some concern that a couple of line items that were over budget potentially, because the board's losing it. 5110-403 for the $1,000,
5110-403, okay.
5110-405 for $800,
Okay,
5110-406 for $5,000.
okay,
Before we go through that whole exercise, the way this whole thing's gonna come out, it's all gonna have to be adjusted again at the end of the year.
right.
If you're fine with the numbers the way they are, we know $1,000 doesn't mean much in oil and lube, it's gonna be 5,000 over. We're gonna have to revisit anyway. So as long as we tell Joe we understand that we have to go back and do the sorting out of year end, trying to change it on the fly and get it, just say, just pass it if you're comfortable. And then we have to adjust those areas anyway, so.
So you're not suggesting we amend the
I'm
resolution?
not saying that if oil and lube now has, it's gonna be 1,000 over because it goes through, it's gonna be over anyway. We're gonna be revisiting this in a month, 2 months, 3 months, so.
Okay.
Trying to change that now, I mean, just inform Joe, we understand, we acknowledge, and we will go back. We realize we're gonna take from somewhere else to get to that point. And we have to juggle salt because we had to fix the barn. We do a lot of juggling.
So we leave it, we just revisit it at the end.
We don't
of the
amend the
year.
resolution.
No, I mean, the resolution is stands. I'm saying you don't have to change 1,000 here and 300.
Right.
We can change it again anyway.
Okay. Council on it?
Yes.
Sean, as liaison, do you just want to reach out to Joe and?
So Jenna, are we making any modifications?
No,
Okay. Thank you.
it'll be sponsored by the council.
Got it.
Okay, no exec, we've already gone into exec. All right, around the table. Mr. Newman,
Well, I just leave my statements for the overtime issue later. I did research something because I was kind of interested or intrigued by it, but you know, if you go down an Elmwood Strip and see bicycle rentals, there are symbols down there, and people go down there. And I never actually looked at them, but I wanted to look into seeing if it's if there's a possible revenue source there. So I did reach out to a company that does that kind of stuff, just for a price quote, just to kind of get my feelings out to see what it is. I feel like $10 or something, and you know, they supply everything you need. At $10 though, they do not do a rental fee. It's just you take the bike, then you return the bike, you go charge. The charge, you have to go to almost 20 bucks. So I'm still waiting on a quote for 20 bucks just to see what is involved and how it works and so on and so forth. So I think it might be a nice compliment to the hub, since this is supposed to be our backbone for long path, bike paths. You know, start and return is the location.
I already did that 2 years ago.
Just,
Yeah, and the only reason why it wasn't, I didn't push forward with it this year is because of the pandemic, but Ready Bike, and one other company, reached out to me when we had the press conference announcing the opening of the hub, showing their interest, so I started preliminary sit-downs with both of those companies, and obviously, like I said, this year kind of threw a monkey wrench into things, but I plan on revisiting with them over the winter.
I'm sure this, like, the company that I.
Yeah,
if
you wouldn't mind.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I think it's, again, a starting point, and then, bring it back to the state point. And then go from there.
Do they have to be located in one spot, or do we tend
Well, the structure is different.
Yeah,
You can
everybody-
start and return at a different location, but that might be a little bit hairy if you park with hub and then, kind of go back. So I think starting point would be, just now, but sure, it could be linked with the town or Buffalo or Pendleton, if that if you really wanted to.
That's what Ready Bike,
Roll
Ready
that
Bike
direction.
was, you could have returned it to any Ready Bike, location in Western New York, and they have quite a few. It would have been just like a car rental. I mean, use it, return it to wherever.
Is Buffalo Ready Bike?
Yes,
Is it?
yeah.
Niagara Falls has it too. I've seen them on,
I think it's very interesting. That's all I have for now.
Ms. Karen?
I just have one, I guess there's a rat issue again at 258 Adams Street. Are you aware of that?
Your county comfort control program.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Sean?
Thanks, it's 1,600. We're giving the number up quite a bit. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's got a couple things come up in the past couple weeks. One, the lighting in Elmwood Park, lost all lighting apparently for a couple of days. Just my thanks to Larry Martin for handling it quickly, for the mayor's office for getting it on the bench. Apparently there was one light that just caused the gates to chain back to the rest one, but it was handled quickly. Chief Stewart, I also reached out to him and think about continual open fires from a neighbor. It's been a continual problem with people not burning, driveway following all of the rules. So we did put it out there, we did address it. Just publicly thank you to him for handling it quickly, reinstating it. I have some information to pass along if there are other concerns. And just put it out there. I don't know if anybody else gets complaints about it. If it's something that anybody else thinks we need to address. I myself have a fair bit in my yard. I have a larger amount of area in my occasional, but some areas within Morgan Street, the houses are a little closer together, a little tighter. Just open consideration. I don't know if anybody else gets some complaints about that. It's something that we want to consider narrowing it a little bit for the courtesy of other people. I thought it was something worthwhile to at least think about and discuss if anybody else thinks we need for it.
Can you forward us his response? I don't think we got it, right?
Oh, you didn't reply all on that?
I didn't see it.
Nobody else got his chief's reply on that? I do.
Yeah, I thought I just,
I didn't see-
I'll forward it on.
Okay.
He also forwarded the codes to Erie County laws that they follow. There's people with health issues, I understand that. It's always a courtesy. I tend to ask my neighbors if it bothers them, let them know that it's there. You try to follow the rules. But I do understand the concerns some other people take away from the quality of life. It's up close. I don't think it's fair to infringe that on other people while we enjoy ourselves. The amount of fireworks that have infringed the air on 4th of July, the cloud left over on that. So, I was asking, I think Mike sent out the law regarding the Airbnb, tough word to say, Airbnb and the rental local laws. I know that was out there, we reviewed it, we had some follow-up on that. As of recently, something on Facebook, I had a neighbor reach out to me originally and ask me about it, it's kind of all over social media. That was problematic. I know it was taken care of, I know it was a cost to us, look at what I was done. But I think that's something that needs to be addressed in our city. I think that's something with rental properties, how they're kept up, how it affects the neighborhoods, how it decreases the value of other neighbors is something. So I guess I'm asking Mike, what are your hurdles with that law? Is it something that can be?
I think that's something that we need to discuss.
We need to sit down. The law is written is not enforceable right now. And even the manpower, even I checked with the building department, they wouldn't be able to even enforce it.
But is there a path to having it a reasonable law? That's not.
Well, it depends on what type of law you want. See, that was more than just a rental registration list. Like Niagara Falls, they have a landlord rental registration list.
Sure.
The law that was sent out was more than that. That was an enforcement. We were gonna shut people down if they weren't compliant with the code.
Right.
Who drafted that?
Okay.
Where,
We did draft that.
That was me and Jason,
You know,
okay.
I mean, there's a lot of issues.
What, I
In
guess we're
enforcement
going
and in compliance. And, I mean, you're gonna need a full-time person, because you're gonna have to shut these people down from renting, because they're not gonna be up to the code.
bad idea if you have possibly trouble in the neighborhood leaving garbage.
But there's probably, to be honest, there's probably very few apartments or houses that are up to the current code. The code changes all the time, becomes more restrictive.
And wasn't there a clause in the law that said, well, make it selective enforcement?
Well, there was many things in the ordinance. It gave the building inspector the right to waive penalties and interest and fees. You can't have that. That's selective enforcement. There was a whole bunch of issues with it. I didn't list them all in my email, but
Sure.
if you're interested in pursuing it, we can sit down and start hashing it out. But you're not gonna be able to enforce that with your current staff in the building department. I talked to Eric, the building inspector, said there's 200 to 300 rental units that would have to be inspected each time annually, and then they have to have follow-up inspections if they're not up to code. So I don't know where the personnel are gonna come to do all these things.
Where is the chief complaints as far as violation goes? Is it just garbage or?
Garbage left out, noise.
No, and whether or not these units are safe to be rented, because a lot of them are either, ex foreclosure, acquirers that, they put lipstick on the pig.
Well, the big issue with the thing is we're gonna be then assuming liability. Right now, if we go ahead and issue a certificate of compliance saying that the apartment is fit to be rented, if someone gets hurt and they're not up to code, we're taking the liabilities. It's a big liability step for the city. Because we're not only, practically speaking, right now, if we know of a code violation, we cite you and we make sure you take care of it. If we don't know about the violation, we're not liable for it. If we pass a law that says we're gonna inspect every rental unit and you're gonna register and pay a fee, and we issue a certificate and it's not up to code and someone gets hurt, or we don't get to the inspection in time, then we'll pick up a liability.
I'm curious to know, I know further, I'm listening, at all. If they're involved in any capacity in any type of their fire investigation or inspections, with rental properties or just commercial properties.
The fire department runs regular inspections.
I don't know if multi-dwelling is part of that or not, that's a question for them, and I'm sure they can answer something, but I'm curious to know.
I believe they are, and I think it's 3 years. I think it's 3 years for commercial and rental residential properties.
Residential commercial property is three living dwellings or more, or three.
Yeah,
So 3 units and above.
Yeah.
Considered multi-dwelling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, which are often done with Airbnbs and houses that are like that.
right.
Is there, within the tools that we have, and I don't know if this is a group to ask you or who else to direct it to, but you guys, when you guys were out there, you passed the public nuisance law. is any of this enforceable or follow up within that?
Only for suspected drug.
Yeah,
Is that specific?
or somebody,
I think it's just illegal activity.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just everybody.
Yeah, I don't
somebody
think
selling
it's-
unlicensed cigarettes twice.
Understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody selling gas twice.
Gambling, prostitution, drugs, I remember.
I mean, if that's something that we're interested in pursuing, I would recommend a committee of the mayor, building inspector, someone from the council, fire.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if you tweak the law
Yeah.
to include either any rental
You're right.
or two family
Right.
above. kind of thing. So,
And when I told you guys all about this, I told you it was a tough law.
So what are the thoughts on that?
I think something, so, I think it's been a
I
problem
need
that we've
something,
had for years and years.
so,
All right,
So one
so,
of the number one things that I heard campaigning the first time was the problems with rental properties, and now that's kind of tied over into people using as Airbnb in the area too.
so let's take, like Bruce's, email, the ordinance, and any council member that's interested in sitting on the committee, I'll work with the mayor's office, we'll get a team together and you guys can start reviewing it and just let me know.
And then the only other thing, I was just curious, with people asking what would be going on, getting closer with Young Street to closing the deal on that. Where we all go.
what, Spalding? Spalding, they've been, you said Young Street.
Yeah.
Did I? I'm sorry, I meant,
Yeah.
separate notes, Spalding and Cat, my
So
apologies.
the Wendell's doing the plat maps. They've been given permission, Milton Cat has to go onto the site. My understanding is Wendell is gonna have the plat maps for the planning board for the next meeting.
Yes, they sent proposed plat maps and everything, they emailed to me and Jason today. So we'll be reviewing them, we'll get back to them, and then they'll be preparing the actual document for filing with the Erie County Clerk's office, so I got those today.
Right, but they were, Milton Cat was given permission.
And they were, yes, we did give Milton Cat permission to go on the site and start their investigation, or whatever they needed to do.
I did have a couple questions. I haven't had a chance to forward it. I just got it the other day, which I'm going to forward to Don in regards to traffic and safety. A couple traffic sign issues, one people going to stop signs. A continual thing, but it seems to be more and more problematic. It's Franklin corner over by Fort Pool.
Every stop sign.
And Fletcher, yeah, every stop sign. You know, somebody started it, and we talked about it, and then of course put it on Facebook, and now it's, of course, every stop sign is. I mean, to an extent, I understand short staff, the police department, that it's not, but I don't know if that's something worthy of, a traffic study or bring to your attention, but I just wanted to do due diligence and pass along and ask you to do it.
I can forward that, Sean.
And I'll forward the email, or the email. I had actually one person officially emailed me, actually two people officially emailed me, so I'll forward it.
Yeah, because I did speak to Captain Full briefly, because the traffic and safety has not met since February due
Right.
to COVID. And he's still not comfortable having meetings yet. Because then we have to have it here at City Hall.
Can you set up a Zoom?
No. So as soon as we
You
can.
imagine Fred trying to do Zoom?
Yeah, I did suggest that. I even suggested, coming here because we are doing a LBC meeting next Tuesday at 5 o'clock and out here outside, so we can have a meeting like that. And he didn't feel that it was.
We discussed today with Jim, myself, Chuck, with Andy, and they're gonna be opening up, we're gonna have daytime morning, Saturdays out, so we're gonna do our best to try to accommodate the schedule. So, staff will not.
City Hall will be open on Saturdays?
They have to come anyway from the police, so there's gonna be a brief window of time, a 3-hour window, that they can be down there in the community room, so there's some openings. And the other option was Tuesday nights, they find some space because we have to be open for the council meetings. But every other Tuesday, council nights, they find times it's your 5 o'clock meeting for traffic and safety.
Right.
So that's kind of how Jim's working on the calendar. He's gonna open that up to the boards first that meet, and then try to see what that looks. So they're doing their best to open that back up.
Right, because my concern is, once everything gets back to the new normal, again, the only way to access City Hall is with a key fob, and none of us have a key fob to enter this building.
Again, the rules are the janitor has to be there anyway, that's how it is. So, if we ever get back to normal, the front doors are open all day, every day, during the hours of open.
I mean, it's kind of difficult to have, some of these seniors coming downstairs.
I mean, court starts tomorrow morning, or the traffic court starts to try.
Is it safe to assume that our
It'll be Monday.
meeting on the 21st will be down here? Okay. No update on when the courtroom will be available? Zach?
Yeah, we got it.
I haven't?
No, we haven't. We've skipped.
Oh.
We got off
we haven't
track.
got any yet, so-
Oh, well, just
So he
a
can't give
question.
you that update. I did have one more.
I was waiting my turn.
Do we have an update on Niagara Shore? The sale on that?
We haven't been, we're ordering a description and a survey, but we haven't been able to get the Erie County Clerk's office to look at the old maps and give the information to the surveyor.
Okay.
So the title companies last Tuesday were finally given permission to send one person from each company into clerk's office, so they're starting to get that form. And Brittany's been in touch with the guy's attorney, Joey, attorney, Brittany's been in touch with him. But they've been playing phone tag. We're aware of it.
Sean, did you have anything else?
You heard anything from David Holmes yet?
I sent him an email, over the fourth of July weekend, so I was waiting to get that.
I had a couple residents email about it.
Yeah.
Never get emails about that, so just. Thank you.
They're eager to get started up there, so it's, we have that project and we'll really work on that.
Thank you.
Mayor?
So tonight, I'm allowing the state of emergency to expire at 11:59. And we'll reissue if need be, further on down the line. With that being said, as of August 1st, City Hall will be back open to the public. The hours will be limited, like Bill said, to just the day and council meetings in the evening, and then a few Saturdays and Sundays, until probably the end of the year. But like I said, the first meeting in August should be able to have an report. I don't know what the restrictions are gonna be on public meetings at that point, so the only thing I would suggest is stay flexible. I don't know how many people they're gonna allow in a building, so, you might still be down here doing Zoom. Who knows? But I just wanted to give everybody, an update on that.
Anything else? All right, anybody have anything else before we go down the floor? All right, Jim, are you ready?
Yeah, we currently have like 33 people in the meeting. The only thing, again, is a reminder, if everyone can just, when they're speaking, just project as best they can. And again, for the mayor and Mike Rua, our city attorney, that are not in the visual shot, if they can just identify themselves when they're making a comment, I'd appreciate it. So we're all set on my end.
All right, it's 6:50. Call the meeting of the Common Council to order. Please call the roll.
Newman,
Here.
Nimmerdiner,
Here,
Rautenstrau,
Here.
Milo,
Here.
Cook.
Here. All right, let's please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I think that's the first time in 3 months everybody's been on.
On cue.
I know.
The people in the parking lot also face the flag and put their hands over their hearts.
Oh, that's good. All right, as we bow our heads before you, O God, we thank you for your presence with us as we gather together in service to your people. We thank you for the responsibilities that you have given us for this wonderful city that we call home. It is a place of neighborhoods, families, friendships, and dreams, a place of blessing for us all. We thank you that we have been placed here to work in unity for the good of all. Oh God, give to each of us your love of justice. Help us to govern with wisdom and compassion, so that the poor and the powerless may be treated with mercy and justice. Open our ears to hear the cries of the needy, for those caught in the cycles of poverty, abuse, illness, and resilience. Give us your wisdom that we might know how best to respond. Give us the courage to do what is right, even when it is not popular. Under our responsibilities, may the people of our city flourish, and may there be peace and plenty for all. In the name of Christ we pray, amen. And that prayer was given to us by Associate Chaplain Dorothea Schweitzer, so thank you. All right, communications from the mayor have been ordered and filed. Communications from city officials and correspondences have also been ordered and filed. We are not going into executive session. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public on the resolutions. I believe that there's, if you want to say something, there's a hand. And then Jim, if you could just unmute so that we can try to keep some order.
Sure.
Again, this is comments by the public on the resolutions. That's how it works, right? There's a hand. I mean, I'm not quite familiar. Okay.
You click on the 3 dots, it's raise hand.
No hands.
So anyone in the community who wishes to speak on the resolutions, there is a raise hand. Please indicate that. No? You're shaking your hand. It's okay. Okay, Mr. Angelo? Did you want to speak?
Yes, I don't see a hand on the screen.
Okay.
Denny Angelo, 72 Clark Street, president of IAFF, local 859. I got 2 questions on the 2 different resolutions. You want me to do them both at the same time or one at a time?
You can do whatever's easier.
All right, it might take me more than 3 minutes than the allotment. If I could get past the 3 minutes, I'll try keeping it close as I can though. The first one on resolution 6. I see that the police department has a $1,000 capital improvement getting cut from their budget. Were there any other capital improvements that were being cut from the budget? And if so, what department? And also, why are there no cuts from the police department and the general fund operating budget? I thought we were all in this together. You know, it's the Parks and DPW took a heavy hit on it. I imagine the police department, the police chief could find something to cut out of this budget. And then resolution 5. First of all, you know, we hope that the 2 injured police officers continue to get better so they can return to work soon. The resolution states there's 3 officers that are out from the the shooting. Is that a typo? Because there's only 2. And then Sean, I guess, I don't know if I address this to Sean or whoever brought up this.
Any questions of Council President?
All right, was there any consideration taken into account with the fire department having one firefighter retire on July 8th and having another firefighter that's been out nearly 2 years due to an on-the-job injury, and doesn't look like that individual will be coming back? The police will be back to full strength. We won't. Cutting $100,000 out of our budget of overtime will put a strain on the city, and it's also going to put a strain on the fire department. What's going to end up happening is we're going to have 2 shifts working with 5 firefighters. When somebody takes off, it's going to be down to 4. Running with 4 firefighters is going to be a very tough job, because it's going to create a totally different way that we are going to be attacking fires now. And also the care of the residents, you're putting their safety at risk. We always talk about how we're in this together with the COVID and all that stuff. Why don't we make the cuts equal if we have to? When we're down to our 24 firefighters, what happens if one of our members gets COVID? We just had 11 cases over the last 2 weeks in the city of Tonawanda pop up. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and cutting our force down by not filling overtime does no justice to the city. What I'm asking tonight, if the Common Council will vote no to the resolution, number 5, and they're going to have to make cuts, make them across the board equal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. Yeah, you must have had a timer on that. You literally just hit the bell there. So by way of explanation, and we have a little more to say at the end, but Resolution 6, these are the budget amendments as of today. The council continues to review any possible budget amendments with department heads, with our city treasurer, with our mayor. We take a close look at our expenditure and revenue report. We take a close look at the overtime report. So based on the reports that we have in front of us, we make those calculated decisions after we get the recommendations from the department heads. I did not draft Resolution 5, so to my knowledge, it was 2 officers. I'm looking to the mayor for, is it 3 officers? I mean, I don't.
Usually my understanding that there's 3, I know there's 2.
There's only 2 that are.
Okay, so perhaps, yes, that could be a typo. With that said, any other comments from the public? Apparently there's not a raise your hand.
I have Sam Fresina.
Okay.
1 second, let me unmute him.
Sam?
Go ahead, Sam.
Yes. Hi, I am not a resident. However, I am here to say a few words as president of the New York State Professional Firefighters Association.
Can you just spell your last name for us?
Fresina.
Thank you.
As president of the State Association, my job is to work with 18,000 members and 107 locals across the state, from Tonawanda, Buffalo to New York City. We've had a lot of problems, a lot of issues. We've had a number of people who've passed away since March with the COVID crisis and a number of other matters. And I just wanted to mention that Right now, locals across the state are struggling to protect their municipalities, whether the municipality is 9 million members or a few thousand members. And to date, none of the municipalities have allowed that staffing level to be diminished and to jeopardize the ability to take care of members, residents in their municipality. Cutting the funding out of the Tonawanda Fire Department that's used to ensure safe staffing is not a good idea. It's unprecedented in the state, and I would highly recommend finding a different way to save some money. I understand that President Angelo is working with city leaders to find ways to get money, including an idea that I believe would net $60,000, and that's moving some people from an office to the street. The money that is talked about in resolution, I believe it's number 5, is the money that helps to keep a minimum of 5 members a day on that apparatus. To be honest with you, I'm amazed how they can do the job with only 5 people protecting the entire city. It is certainly below what is recommended by the National Fire Protection Agency. To run a fire scene with that few people is a feat, to say the least. Even during the height of the COVID crisis, I was working with fire departments like New Rochelle, White Plains, Yonkers, New York City, departments that were in the epicenter of this crisis, not only in the state, but nationwide. We lost a few firefighters that died as a result of the complications from COVID in 2 of these departments.
Thank you, Sam.
So again, just cutting the funding, I believe, and tying their hands would be a big mistake.
All right, thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Any other comments or questions on the resolution? On the resolutions? Jim, do you have any other residents that have any comments or questions?
I don't see anyone indicating they want to ask a question. I can, if you'd like, I can go through and unmute everybody.
Give it one more chance. Anyone else? All right, Jim, just if you could unmute, everybody will give one more chance. So just so everyone who's watching, our clerk is unmuting you. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question on the resolutions, yeah, they can send a direct message to them. And Jim, just let me know once you've unmuted. We'll do a last call. I think those Zoom meetings are very tough. So.
Okay, everyone was given the opportunity to unmute themselves.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the resolutions? 5, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's roll.
Okay, resolution number 1 by Councilman Mylum.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, Madam President.
Second by Mr. Newman. Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron Danner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. Jim,
Resolu-
Jim, before you move on to resolution 2, can you make sure that everyone in the room is muted?
Okay. Okay, everybody's back muted.
Perfect.
Okay, resolution number 2 by Councilmember Cameron Danner.
We have a second.
I'll take it, Madam President.
Second by Mr. Mylum. Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron Danner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 3 by the council, seconded by the council.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron Danner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 4 by Council President Cook.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, Madam President.
Seconded by Mr. Newman. Comments or questions?
Comment?
Mr. Newman?
I do want to thank President Cook for the work that she has done on this. I helped her a little bit, but she definitely led the way on this and kept on top of all facets of this. It's been a long time coming. And I'm glad to see it's here. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Any other comments or questions? Comment, this absolutely is a long time coming. We started in February of 18. I appreciate NYPA for all their work. I look forward to this project coming to fruition. I thank Councilmember Newman for sitting in on those meetings, and we're just getting started on those. Thanks the mayor's office for their efforts and also helping to bring this to light. See what I did there? Bring this to light. That wasn't planned, but and thank the council for their support on this. This is a win-win. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
I'm sorry, President Cook, who seconded the motion, please?
Seconded by Mr. Newman.
Thank you. Okay, calling the roll. Newman,
Aye.
Cameron Danner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution 5 by Councilmember Rautenstrau.
By way of explanation, this resolution is sponsored by Mr. Rautenstrau. Do I have any comments or questions?
I have a comment.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
We did have a motion to table earlier. Does that still stand?
I will make a motion to table this, however.
Motion to table by Mrs. Cameron. I'll do comments or questions. Do we have a second to table?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mylum. Any comments or questions?
Comment.
Mr. Newman?
So I am the liaison for the common council to the fire department. With that being said, this is blindsided me. So I have prepared a statement that I will read. So bear with me. So on Tuesday, June 30th, the common council, mayor, and treasurer met with each department and union representative. This was an informational meeting regarding the budget deficit due to COVID and how it would affect their department. During this meeting, in no time did Councilmember Rautenstrau suggest such an egregious cut to the fire department's overtime budget line. The next day, I was asked to reach out to Councilor Buckstraw regarding this proposed cut. After a long conversation, my opinion was clear. Sean then asked me to talk to the chief anyway. I said that I would, but it would have to wait until Monday because I was out of town for a wedding. This call ended at 8:50 Wednesday evening. Thursday afternoon at 1:48 p.m., 16 hours later, I am notified that this resolution was submitted and placed on the July 7th meeting agenda. The fire department has not been given the courtesy to voice their concerns to how this will affect their operations. Clearly, the opinions and the concerns of all involved really did not matter. If this resolution passes, it will be extremely dangerous for our firefighters, as well as our residents. I also have serious concerns about the mental and physical health of our firefighters. With a schedule change to 24-hour shifts and vacations canceled and no PL days taken for the past 13 weeks due to COVID, a vacation now would cause a staff shortage with $0 of overtime to fill those positions. This maneuver was not only irresponsible, unprofessional, it was also sneaky. I am opposed to resolution number 5, and I am asking the fellow council members to vote against it as well. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, so we have a motion by Ms. Cameron to table, second by Mr. Mylum. Any other comments or questions?
My comment to tabling this is hopefully we can bring the mayor's office into negotiations. It was brought to light that they're still possibly in works with that. But I don't want to hinder any issues that may arise, so I kind of want to hold off. But that's my reasoning behind tabling this resolution. I am hopeful that we can do this in a timely manner to get this resolved. That's all I have, Madam President.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I was going to reserve
Mr.
a
Ross?
seat, if I may comment, so. I was going to hold off until the end, seeing I was called out. I would just like to answer to it in regards to this resolution. I did speak to the liaison within those conversations. It was indicated that it wasn't something that was going to be going, something that they would go for. The deadline to put the resolution in was Thursday night with the holiday. It wasn't a matter of being sneaky, it was a matter of getting it on there because I felt it was important enough. Admittedly, my push to get this on this week's agenda could be perceived as hasty. I felt that the information, the given information that we have to work with, it was a reasonable opportunity to realize reductions in the budget to further bridge the gap on the deficit our city is facing. I felt it was important enough to put it out there, and I still firmly believe that this should be taken into consideration. As a city resident, a parent, and a homeowner, I don't take reducing emergency services lightly. All of our city workers do an amazing job. All are important, and they continue to provide the services we have come to rely on. And I realize that they've been doing it, providing these services with less resources and doing more. And I thank all of you for that. I thank especially the department for doing it as well. The City Council is making decisions with the information that we have available to us. We have projections and information from the city treasurer. And while it's speculation, it's based on the current trends, and what we know so far. It would be irresponsible on our part to wait until the money is spent before finding out the full extent of the shortfall. Right now, we have several months to soften the blow. I don't think the amount is unreasonable, given the present amount of overtime accrued year to date, relative to the total amount budgeted. We're trending towards a $90,000 surplus if the current pattern continues over the next 6 months. The resolution in question was never intended to be punitive in any way. With the resources available and regularly used, the assistance and mutual aid from surrounding municipalities and responsive outside ambulance services, it was my feeling that our residents will still be taken care of. We continue to say that we are in this together. And it's been asked, why is this department taking the biggest cut? I think there's a bigger picture when we have seen cuts across the board. All are doing more with less. There's been hundreds of thousands already cut to salary lines in DPW and Parks and Rec. Over the years, DPW, Parks and Rec has suffered labor loss and has been forced to curb spending. We realize their services every day. police have realized savings and schedule changes through the COVID-19 epidemic that will better be quantified after their injured officers return to duty. Some of the cuts we see now, and some will continue to see over the next few months. Hard decisions will need to be made. The council is more or less responsible for amending the budget lines, but the more difficult decisions and deeper cuts in staffing may still be the responsibility of the department heads. My hope is to get us to the point early enough where we can be done with cuts and decide how we're going to bridge the remaining deficit. No one can predict if it will be through using some of the general fund, short-term borrowing, but hopefully we can do this without loss of labor or heavy impact on the services. I pledge to continue to work hard on behalf of the residents I represent to ensure the burden of this deficit doesn't fall on them before we've exhausted all of our options in-house. It is my hope that negotiations continue. I encourage the unions to negotiate with the mayor's office and likewise the mayor with them. I hope we can come to a better understanding and come to a better place without losing services and without losing labor. That's all I have on that.
All right, again, we have a motion by Mrs. Cameron, second by Mr. Mylum. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Again, this is the motion to table.
Motion to table.
Okay, Newman,
Yay.
Cameron,
Yes.
Rautenstrau,
Yes.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
Aye. Motion has been tabled.
Resolution number 6 by the council, seconded by the council.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
Aye. Declare the resolution adopted. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public following the resolutions. Please state your name for the record.
Denny Angelo would like to make a comment.
Yes. Ben Angel, 72 Clark Street, president of the IAFF, Local 859. It's no secret that there's an issue between the mayor's office and Local 859. It just hasn't been recent. It's been going on for years. I'm a little disappointed that the resolution was tabled, but at the same time, it is basically the same thing as saying it's defeated. Now, Sean was talking about how the police changed things to keep their manning and they didn't take time off. During the first at least 2 months of the COVID, we had one firefighter go home and it caused 2 hours of overtime because his wife went into labor. Our costs have been down too. I am hoping that we could act like an adults and make concessions that are fair to both sides. They have not been recently. If Local 859 is going to make the concessions, I hope the other locals in the city do also. Back in May 27th, met with the mayor. He talked about the projections of the COVID cost being at $2.2 million. A week before he met with DPW and he gave him paperwork of $1.8 million. And then it was posted on the city's social media page a couple of days later at $1.8 million. Not sure what happened on that, but somehow it jumped up $400,000 when we met. He asked us to give up a couple of things. I took it back to our union. We came back with 3 counter concessions. One of them was using the 2 guys down the hall, our fire training and fire prevention officer, to help fill shifts that would cause overtime. The mayor's response to me was, we don't have to use them. We can just mandate you with 4 guys, 4 firefighters. I don't know what kind of thing he was thinking on that. You had a union willing to give 2 firefighters, put them online to help keep the overtime down and also keep service to our residents. And he said we can just do it for firefighters. Well, he's obviously never worked in the fire department, doesn't know how the fire department works. You cannot fight a fire with 4 firefighters. You get a multiple call, then you're done. So I found that kind of a little insulting on his little response back to me. Local 859 has always been and always will be willing to sit down and talk when the city needs help. And I'd like to continue that. But if he's not going to act fair and rational and try bullying, then we're not going to do it, unfortunately. And also the other unions need to step up and help out to get this problem resolved. Thank you, Common Council, for at least tabling that resolution and thinking about our residents and their safety and also the safety of the firefighters. That's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. Any other comments or questions? Any other comments or questions?
William Ray, 72 Walker. This is the city treasurer's annual discussion on how imperative it is that we start the visit and start the process for our tax cap override. There's so much uncertainty for next year with the revenues, not only with the COVID problem, but per capita problem, because we have the new census will be going into effect at that point, and that will change our per capita numbers. So we'll be getting a lot of those numbers in September, October, November. It's imperative that we give ourselves the tools in the toolbox, as Joe always said, to be ready for whatever comes at us in November. Early before the mayor starts putting together his budget that he has to present on October 1st. A lot of the state aid numbers come through in late September, so there's not a lot of room to move. So it's important to get that out of the way. And then to address Mr. Angelo's question on the 2.2 or the 1.8. The 1.9 and change that came up was based on the best information and news that was out in the public. And I always cited the source to make sure they understood I wasn't necessarily coming with those numbers on my own. But when we began this process with the mayor's office, it was very easy to get the 2.2 or 2.4. Again, the $480,000 in police fines that I have not announced are not coming in because we just don't have court to know where we're at with that. I could easily say today there's another 200,000 right there and call it the 2.1 with the 5 we've already found. So to worry so much about where I'm placing that number is, that's great when we get close to that number. We're still $1 million change away from my low number. Let's focus on that and move forward to try to minimize the gap that we're going to have to either borrow for or take out of our fund balance. And then again, if we take it out of our fund balance, there's not a lot of wiggle room to overcome whatever the budget presented on October 1st is if we don't have a transparent override. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Any other comments or questions? Jim, I want to make sure everybody in the community has an opportunity to speak. Everybody's been unmuted, correct?
I have not had any indication that anybody else wants to speak.
Okay. All right, then I'll close that part of it. If you could just mute everybody.
I had a comment.
Oh,
Sorry, my mic was muted.
okay, that's Maria. Has a comment, Maria Swifka?
Okay.
I would just ask the council in the future that when such cuts are being made, that all divisions are notified that their department could be affected beyond taking their budget lines. Was not very happy finding out on Facebook that I was facing a $5,000 salary cut. a professional courtesy, an email. I had been in contact with my liaison for several weeks about what in civil services tiny little budget could be cut. And we didn't have much to begin with. And we gave all we could. And there wasn't even a hint that salaries would be affected, not even a hint in my department. And in the spirit of transparency, I hope this will be a lesson learned, that the council should understand that there's more than just department heads, that there are other divisions that are affected that don't have department heads per se, but just have employees who depend on that paycheck. Facebook's not the best way to find out things. That's all I have.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments or questions?
Jim?
I would comment by Gail Slivas.
Should I go ahead?
Yep, go ahead.
I would just like to ask Mr. Reese, at this point, with the cuts that have been made thus far, what does that, how much of that 1.9 does that take care of?
I believe we're at 5 and change now, more or less.
522.
522, so that leaves us with a $1.4 million before the additional revenue hits and come. And that's, you know, again, we won't know anything about the federal funding or state aid increases, sales tax coming back out probably until late summer, mid-September.
Have you got any projections as to what we might be looking at for the property tax increase if this 1.9 is not dealt with?
Property, I mean, this 1.9 is strictly a bond that will take out of fund balance. Or if we can't do that and we have to finance it, it will then become an additional expense in next year's budget. The initial budget that we're working with now, leaving revenues alone and just putting in our normal expenses and the normal increases were, you know, the mayor's projecting 10% on that. So, I mean, but this actual COVID problem won't change the budget. It's going to come out of our reserves or our fund balance or somewhere, because we can't, you know, this budget's already been passed. So we can't put that into taxes. We can't rebalance it in the next year. All we can do is try to cut even more aggressively, try to rebuild our fund balance next year. If this gets better.
Isn't it critical that the council passes the override, or we could wind up with a bigger problem with the state revenue?
It's very critical, yes.
Ms. Cook, does the council intend to consider that soon?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, Jim, if you could just mute.
Okay, just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay, everyone is muted except the council.
Okay, Mr. Newman.
Thank you, Madam President. I have prepared a closing statement as well. I would like to thank my fellow council members, department heads, DPW, office personnel, and especially fire and police personnel for working diligently through this pandemic, a shooting, and riots. Schedule changes, working from home, and kids being home 24/7 becomes stressful for everyone. Truly, we are all in this together. Most of us understand that. However, it is sad and pathetic that some prefer chaos, manipulation, and politics over the residents and employees of the city. I hope our residents and employees will continue to have faith in our council members, and I promise to always work with you and not against you. Cabling resolution number 5 gets us through today. However, it is still unacceptable in the long term. In November, we pinched pennies to get the fire department overtime line to the bare bones number it is. TFD is going to be understaffed by 2 firefighters for the remainder of the year. And because of that, TFD has offered a concession to alleviate $60,000 of overtime, $30,000 of which was unforeseen, unavoidable. TFD has always, and I believe will continue to do, what is best is in the best interest of this city. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Mrs. Camerediner.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank everyone who's reached out to the council president, along with the council members, Mr. Newman, myself, Mr. Rothschild, and Mr. Milam regarding our city's financial situation. I wanted to first say COVID-19 has not been kind to anyone physically or financially. Our city, along with surrounding municipalities, have had to make difficult cuts to their budget, which has affected the closing of our city parks, our pools, summer activities such as the 4th of July, Canal Fest, Gateway Harbor, just to mention a few. Your city leadership has worked tirelessly to come up with a budget that will save jobs in the city and keep essential services and amenities in place, like your paid fire, paid police, your street repairs, sanitation, tree trimming, and grass cutting. I wish to be clear that the council does not negotiate with department heads or union leaders. This falls under the day-to-day operations out of the mayor's office. On June 30th, the council met with the department heads and union leadership to hear concessions each department head proposed. It is the council's understanding that the mayor has reached out to them as well in order to continue negotiations to prevent job loss. However, more still needs to be addressed and met with the city's budget shortfall. It is my position that the financial sacrifice be as equitable as possible and the burden be distributed fairly with no one department enduring more of the cost than the other. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mrs. Camerediner. Mr. Rounstrau.
I don't think I have anything more to say. I think the rest of summed it up nicely. I said my piece commenting on the table resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Rounstrau. Mr. Milam.
I don't have too much to say either. I feel everybody else has done the speaking. I just really look forward to the union leadership of our city coming back and working with us. I'd like to thank them for at least being willing to do that. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milam. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm a little disappointed in President Angelo's remarks. I mean, there is no rift between the mayor's office and the fire department. If there was, I wouldn't have got them almost a $500,000 grant for a new ladder truck, or a new pumper, I should say. I would not have gotten them a grant for a new PPE. I would not have invited our state senator to walk through their fire department to try to get a cue on some of the needs that our fire department has and what he could do to assist them. But I will say that any numbers that I have given to the union during negotiations are numbers that myself and our city treasurer have gotten either from NICOM or from the governor's office, and we've gone low with those estimations. We've gone with 20% reduction in state aid when we got word it could be 20 to 50% reduction in state aid. We've gone with 25% reduction in sales tax when it very well could be 30%. We didn't and haven't even factored in the loss of mortgage tax. We haven't factored in the loss of fines. And when I sat down with each one of these unions, and I'm not going to share, nor will I ever share union negotiations in a public setting. I let them know what my floor was as far as what I would accept as far as a starting point to try to head off any kind of cuts to their departments that potentially the council could be looking at. And when some unions come back under that threshold, monetary threshold, I should say, then that disappoints me. And I would ask that, you know, I will be reaching out to all the unions again. I've been very transparent with all of them. Any question that they've asked throughout this whole process, because I would want the same, I'm a union president myself. I would want the same if the roles were reversed. So, and I look forward to sitting down with each and every one of them again and seeing what we can do to help the city out. If you haven't realized it's hot outside, please check on your elderly neighbors. If you're working outside, please make sure you take frequent breaks, drink a lot of water, and don't leave your pets outside for long periods of time. This evening, I am allowing the state of emergency to expire at 11:59. Our city hall will be technically, quote unquote, reopened on August 1st, but it will be by appointment only. So if you want to meet with the clerk's office or the building inspector, you will still need to make an appointment. You will not be able to just walk straight in and meander around the building. And last, all across our country, there's about 20,000 cities, towns, and villages that are struggling with the very same thing that we're struggling with here. These issues know no political party affiliation. Democrat or Republican controlled municipalities are cutting costs, asking for concessions, looking at deficit spending, and spending down fund balances to help get them through the year. The trickle-down effect will be massive layoffs throughout the country, rising taxes, decreases in municipal credit ratings, and debt that will have to be paid for over many years. There is one entity, though, that can help put an end to all of this: the federal government. For weeks, there's been a bill in the Senate that would approve monies to assist cities, towns, and villages all throughout the country in getting through this crisis. Politics, as usual, is standing in the way of getting the HEROES Act passed. Maybe if our federal representatives showed a little more concern like they did in order to get the PPP loan program passed, which was supposed to benefit small businesses and not those with ties to our federal representatives, churches, or our president, we would all be in a better situation than we are now. In times of natural disasters like hurricanes, floods, and fires, our government has stepped up to help assist those communities. This should be no different. This has been a natural disaster of pandemic proportions and should be viewed that way instead of a bailout. Every day, American lives are more dependent on their local governments than they are the state or the federal. It's time to stop the collective partisan bickering and do what's right for all Americans. Pass the HEROES Act. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to give a shout out to Jace, who was our DCO officer who recently left his post. I wish him well in his next chapter, and I thank him for his service to our furry friends and our entire community. You know, by way of an explanation, back in January at a reorganizational meeting, each council member is appointed by the council president to serve as a liaison to each department. And that process to appoint is never taken lightly. It's a discussion with my colleagues, what interests them, what department are they interested in serving, and then they're appointed in our reorganizational meeting. The liaisons have worked closely with our department heads, and especially now more than ever. During this budget amendment process, Our liaisons have remained committed to working with our department heads and other personnel to review opportunities. Each of us on the council rely on the feedback and the discussions that they have with each respective department head and other personnel in order for us to make the necessary and critical budget amendments. After I received the resolution that was tabled this evening, I reached out to Chief Stewart. I want to read a snippet of his email that was sent to the council. And I asked what type of impact this would have on the department. And he writes, we started the year off with $174,000 in the overtime line. We have since used $43,692.64. Not bad, considering we're 50% through the year. The proposed cut would leave us about $30,000 minus whatever overtime is occurring this week, and this will not be enough to ensure adequate staffing of fire personnel for the remainder of the year. And he explains below, due to personal leave, mandatory training, sick leaves, holdover overtime, time off due to job-related illnesses and injuries, and bereavement time. He projects this would be well over $130,000. If his overtime line was cut by $100,000, that would leave $30,308 for the remainder of the year. He writes, keep in mind that mandatory training alone would cost $32,000. So I appreciate the chief for getting back to the council and letting us know that. You know, by way of explanation, and I'm not, you know, going to discuss any private conversations that I've had with a council member, but I was disappointed that the resolution made it to the docket without the council being briefed prior to its submission, or an opportunity for our liaison to reach out to the chief. I've expressed my concern with that council member, and I hope that moving forward that doesn't happen again. I have preached from day one that this approach that we were taking needed to be unified, and it's true, nothing has changed. That includes everyone. It includes everyone sitting in this room, the mayor to my left, the treasurer to my right, and my fellow colleagues on the council. It also includes our city employees. It's too important for any one of us to deviate away from that process. And our residents deserve nothing short of a cohesive body working together. And after reading, reflecting, and researching that resolution, I also voted with my colleagues to table it. I believe that resolution was premature, inaccurate, and unfair. And this resolution came to a council member via the mayor's office as sort of a, hey, here's a feather in your cap. The mayor never once shared that resolution that was drafted with the entire council, nor did he share that with me. Nor was the council given the respect it deserved to do its due diligence. Again, even after I have preached that this needs to be a unified approach, to me, that's what's disheartening. The resolution that was tabled tonight, it's clear. It appeared personal. It was a resolution that was received on the eve of a holiday, and none of us had an opportunity to reach out to the chief to do the due diligence. Personally, this council, the mayor and the treasurer, met last week with each union representatives and several department heads. I thought we really made significant headway. I'm not sure of any other municipality that has taken the steps that we've taken, include meeting with our city employees, conversations with the department heads, late night reviewing of the budget, time away from our family, and we do it because we're here to serve the community. My hope and my ask is that the union presidents work with our mayor's office or a designee to work out concessions of substance. I've been involved in union negotiations before, I know this process takes time. And as our Bills coach famously said, we have to trust the process. And that's what I do. And we all should trust the process. This does not happen overnight, but I'm optimistic that after tonight, if we all put personal feelings aside and we negotiate for the betterment of the city of Tonawanda, we will all be better off. So where do we go from here? We've cut over $500,000. We've made $500,000 in budget amendments that the council has adopted over several council meetings. If you think these actions we took this evening and 2 weeks ago were easy, you're wrong. I understand, like my colleagues, like the mayor, the treasurer, we understand and sympathize that the impact these amendments have made on your family, your neighbors, and our community. What's extremely important to me from this point forward is that we're working off of the same numbers. The deficit that has been presented to the council was 1.9 million. After tonight, we've adopted over $500,000 in budget amendments. We've made significant progress, in my opinion, and none of us should discredit that. I know how hard each and every one of us have worked on it up until this point. But I'd be remiss if I said our job is done. We still have more work to do. I'm waiting for a report from the mayor's office on possible concessions that will help bridge this gap. I look at this in phases. Phase 1, the common council adopted budget amendments. Phase 2, the mayor and the union presidents are up. I have the utmost respect for our city employees with their respective unions and all those parties that are going to come together to negotiate. I am encouraged by the feedback that I've heard and their willingness to work with the mayor and the common council during this process. I wanted to point out that the city of Tonawanda received the recent sales tax report. I sent an email to the mayor's office requesting a copy of that report on July 3rd. To date, the common council has not received it. I was able to reach out to the Erie County Comptroller and was able to get a copy of that I forwarded to my colleagues. I asked the mayor where we were at since our last report, and the July 1st remittance was 19% below last year's value he reported. According to the Erie County Comptroller, we are 15.81%. That 3.19% makes a significant difference. I've heard from many residents about what's important to them and their families. I appreciate your phone calls, your emails, and I promise that I'll respond to each and every one of you. I encourage you also to reach out to your council member and the mayor and the treasurer and your elected officials to have a conversation about where we are, where we're headed. And no one is in this journey for a feather in their cap. At least I'm not. So let's get back to business. We have a job to do. With that said, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, President.
Second by Mr. Newman. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Janet doesn't like the mayor either.
The 19 was correct.
Oh, here's the report they gave me.
I know, I saw the report, I looked at it.